This is very new territory for me, literally and figuratively. Let me get a little more comfortable. Today I want to talk about soft masculinity and the baby girlification of men. I want to talk about this because it's been on my mind a lot lately, especially reading Liz Plank's book, For the Love of Men. We're actually going to take a little bit of a detour and talk about girl slang. Girl slang lays the foundation in which he's so baby girl and the baby girlification of heteronormative men comes into play. In the last few years, we've witnessed every single possible girl internet trend to exist. 2023 was the year of the girl online. Feminist journalist Liz Plank puts it perfectly by saying that our Barbie reckoning launched so many fascinating conversations about girl culture with trends like girl math, girl dinner, and because it happened as Taylor Swift's Eras Tours was creating a whole new economy based on female empathy, we got to see ourselves in everything. Cue girl math, girl dinner, e-girl, coconut girl, hot girl walk. Understanding these girl terms, girl slangs lays an important context to understanding the subsequent popularization of feminizing men and how that plays into this wave of the female gaze online. Some notes on girl slang. When it comes to these girl trends, we know that it's not actually little girls who are coining these terms. It's likely young adolescent women who have been made to feel pretty poorly about feminine or traditionally feminine aspects of themselves growing up. This language is also very much an extension of girl power in the 90s by the Riot Girl subculture, which was an underground feminist movement that combined politics, feminism, and punk music. One of the things that is the most important to understand about girl internet as it existed in 2023 and before is that online, everyone, pretty much everyone, is considered a girl or a girly. Everyone except for straight white cis men. According to a New York Times article on why girls rule the internet, the word girl is more a mindset than a statement about one's age or gender. So a girl could be anyone who doesn't fall into the gendered idea of the word, or even anyone on the internet. Now, referring to men as baby girl first originated in 2021. The term baby girl actually originated from Gen Z fan language. Supposedly back then, baby girl seemed to be mostly reserved for like middle-aged men from popular TV shows like Breaking Bad. According to Urban Dictionary, baby girl means grown men that have a loving chokehold over a fandom. And in that context, it kind of describes the way that fans maybe felt toward a certain character, specifically like fan girls, and the way that they want to baby these kind of tough, burly, masculine figures in TV shows. Now, if you fast forward to January 2024, Jacob Elordi was dubbed baby girl on SNL by comedian Bowen Yang, and this kind of brought on the resurgence of the baby girlification of men, and not just in the way that fandoms felt about their favorite characters, but also in a way to describe personality traits, mannerisms, fashion choices. He So Baby Girl became a term used to describe a man with energy that's described as vulnerable, submissive, and somewhat cutesy. In a Grazia magazine article, Sylvia Sierra, a professor of communication and rhetorical studies at Syracuse University, describes it as feminizing men in a positive way. Typically, there's negative valence attached to these terms for women. With baby girl, you're not seeing that. It's actually being used in a positive way, like you're highlighting favorable qualities in a man. And in a lot of these cases, it's about their fashion choices. In fact, it's kind of been dubbed a unisex trend that's reset men's fashion. But it's more than just fashion. It's a complete rebuttal of toxic masculinity. In fact, toxic masculinity is the complete opposite of baby girl. It kind of seems like, to me at least, that the baby girlification of men, or at least saying like he's so baby girl or baby girlifying men's fashion choices, is another way of inviting them into mindful masculinity. Or does it actually reinforce stereotypical ideas of masculinity because it's only limited to certain attributes or men who embody certain attributes? So I want to share an excerpt from Liz Plank's book on toxic masculinity. She kind of ran this little social experiment in the park where her and a friend put up a sign saying, "Ask us anything," but specifically to men. It's almost like free therapy. And I think this was with Esther Perel. And she said in the social experiment, quote, "We are born women, we become men." There's no word for emasculating women or sissy for women. Men's masculinity is predicated on the rejection of the feminine in all societies. In Esther's research, she found that almost every traditional society around the world squeezes the fear and the vulnerability out of him to turn him into a man, and the feminine attributes are squeezed out of him so he can be fearless, competitive, powerful, and strong. So why is it okay for women to adopt traditionally masculine traits, so much so that we have terms like tomboy, but for men, they're bullied or ridiculed or deemed less of a man for adopting traditionally feminine traits. Women's femininity can't be taken away so swiftly, and we're given more permission to transgress these boundaries of gender. You know, we can wear pants, we can wear skirts. It's celebrated for us to indulge in masculine traits, but that's also just because any expression of femininity historically across cultures is devalued. And of course, this latitude to transgress gendered norms applies to different women differently. Straight, white, cisgender, thin, able-bodied women have more flexibility than those whose identities don't fit into those bodies. The less marginalized you are, the more accepting society is of you breaking the norms, because it doesn't threaten an existing ruling system. Women's actions are accepted when the bending of expectations doesn't threaten the existing moral order. It exists within it. I love that quote. Oh my God, there's a spider. So coming back to baby girl, I've seen a few different definitions. On the Today Show, Hoda and Jenna defined it as having a specific set of criteria, and that criteria was a man over 25 years old, cutesy in a submissive way, has a bad boy side but isn't intimidating. Over on Twitter, there was this trending baby girl checklist that involved a few more pieces, which I'll kind of include here. Some of the descriptions were pretty problematic. It was like, has he experienced emotional trauma? Like, as if that is his gateway to expressing emotion at all. Would he hate being called a baby girl? Like, does he also reject all things feminine? That makes him even more traditionally masculine and even more worthy of being called a baby girl. So I'll just kind of leave those on the screen. Kind of want to explore the promise and the problem with baby girl. Historically, we raise boys to value stoicism over authenticity. This is something that Liz also talks about in her book. This is basically just becoming a book review for the Love of Men. Yeah, we teach men that their man card will be taken away if they dare to express a full range of emotions. So the term baby girl is kind of like a quiet rebellion against this and an invitation into soft and mindful masculinity that can be celebrated. But the problem, to me at least, is that saying he's so baby girl and the way that it's being used currently on TikTok is that it still only applies to men who fit within these rigid ideas of masculinity. They're still conventionally attractive. Most of them are white. It's heteronormative, of course. They're kind of deemed bad boys in a way. There's this conventional attraction. The term baby girl only applies to men who fall within that. And so it's still kind of a limiting term. And in some ways, that could actually just reinforce harmful masculinity. Or is that super meta? I don't know. If we are to truly challenge toxic masculinity, it's going to take more than just celebrating softness as it applies to specific men. There needs to be an intersectional lens to even the baby girlification of men. So that's kind of it. This was a bit of a rant. Thank you for listening.